What's going on? Welcome to another PedalerzMN video. In today's video, we're going to be doing the last wave of upgrades to the fat bike for the year. Just before Christmas, Minnesota got hit pretty hard with about 5 to 6 inches of snow, and since then we've been receiving another 2-inch dose every few days or so. So it's finally time for me to stick the tires that I bought about 1 week into owning the Monster onto the bike. Alright, so up front we're going to be running a Surly Bud. That is a 4.8 inch tire that's going to give me maximum flotation on loose snow. And then in the back we're running a Terrene Wazia, which is a super grippy, super thick knob tire, and I think it's going to prevent my rear wheel from slipping on looser conditions. In addition to swapping tires, we're also going to be converting the rims from Schrader valve to Presta valve. For those of you new to cycling, a Presta valve is generally what you're going to find on higher end bikes, and a Schrader valve is something that you're probably more familiar with. Schrader valve, Presta valve. Schrader valve, Presta valve. Alright, 100% the Schrader valve is more useful in the real world. If you go to any gas station or tire shop in need of air on your bike, they're going to have an air hose that's made to work with a Schrader valve. They will not have an air hose that's made to work with a Presta valve. In order to pump your tire up at a tire shop or a gas station or just any normal place, you're going to need an adapter like this. This allows you to use a Presta valve with a Schrader valve hose. So you're probably wondering why use a Presta valve in the first place if it's not as universal. The reason high-end bikes tend to use Presta valves is because, especially in off-road conditions, or in the case that we're working with today, snowy conditions, lower tire pressure is essential to finding grip. What's nice about a Presta valve is it gives you the option to precisely lower your tire pressure in a very easy push-button manner. With a Schrader valve, you have to try to wedge something into the valve. You have way less control over how much air is released, and if you mess up, you might get whatever you're using to press the valve down wedged in there and let out too much air, which could be dangerous and give you a flat. Alright, so I'm going to get to work, and we're going to make this bike even fatter. This is everything that is wrong with Schrader valves. Alright, before I proceed, I'm going to clean this rim off, and I'm definitely going to clean the rotor off because it's covered in sand and salt, and I want my next ride to be pleasant. Alright, let's take a quick second to compare and contrast our new tires. On the left here, we have the old, and on the right, we have the new. Now, don't let it fool you. The tire on the right is significantly wider than the tire on the left. It's just the tire on the left is made of a harder rubber and has recently had a tube inside of it. Now, the hard rubber factor is not necessarily a good thing. That usually means more of an uncomfortable ride, but let's just take a look at the difference in the size of these knobs. Like, there's less knobs on my Surly tire on the right, which is also kind of a good thing in the snow to have space in your knobs, but the height of the knobs is really what gets me. I think it's going to have so much more grip. I can't wait. The other thing that's really crazy is how much lighter the Surly tire is than this V-Mission tire. The V-Mission tire is smaller, but because of that harder rubber compound and just the overall crappier quality of it, it actually probably weighs close to a pound more almost than this one. It's insane. Alright, so obviously we have our tube right here, but more importantly in this bag we have a Schrader to Presta valve adapter, and then we have, for our rims in particular, these little rubber plugs, and they will convert our rim, which has a wider hole for a Schrader valve, into the right hole size for a Presta valve. All right, for those of you who have never changed a bike tire, you probably saw me putzing around with this thing. This is called a tire lever. It's used to get tires off rims. It's also used in the opposite way to get tires on rims. I've happened to see quite a few Sam Pilgrim videos, and he's got a method that seems really fast and really smooth, so I'm gonna give it a shot in this video. All right, so to do the Sam Pilgrim method, you're gonna wanna lay your rim on the floor, disc side up. You're gonna wanna remove your quick release skewer. All right, so you have a handful of items that you're gonna want on the outside of the rim, not on the inside of the tube. So the best way to do this, from what I've heard, I did some research, was to just keep it pretty close to the edge. Something along the lines of this. All right, so you're gonna stuff your tube as straight as possible into the tire. All right, this is the moment of truth. Will the Sam Pilgrim method work? You're gonna wanna line up your valve stem with the hole, and then simply 1, 2, well, I'd say that didn't turn out half bad, huh? Looks like the adapter launched itself off, but I need to put air in anyways, so I guess that's kind of fine. But it looks like the other adapter got seated in perfectly. All right, moment of truth. Will this 4.8 tire fit in the Monster's fork? Ooh. I believe we have clearance. Hey, cool. Let's get this thing bolted in. All right, tire comparison test number 2. We got my Terrene Wazias versus the Mission Commands from V-Rubber. Again, the Mission Command looks wider because it had a tube in it, but they are the exact same width. However, there is a massive difference in knob height and knob size on the Wazia versus the Mission. And again, when it comes to weight, the Wazia is way lighter than the Mission. Again, I think it's almost a pound. All right, we're going for Sam Pilgrim Glory Part 2. And 1. Make sure it's lined up. 2. Well, that's not so bad. Looks good. All right, you guys are probably curious how these are going to perform. I can't wait to take them outside. Me and Ben are about to do a snowy shred at Elm Creek, which will be the next video. But for this video, I think my yard will supply plenty of demo space. I've been riding a lot with the other tire through deep snow that isn't packed. So comparing it with this 4.8 that actually has nice knobs, I think will be really fun to do. All right, so overall, I'm pretty excited about these tires. It'll be interesting to see how they perform on today's ride, but as far as riding through super deep snow, that was probably to like about here on the bike. For these fresh tires, they seem to be doing a great job. I'm sure once they're worn in, they'll do even better. It's not like, the front tire was really soft, but the rear one, not quite the same softness. Still got through it, so